Oh yeah, one day I go from single mom to super hooker. It wasn't like that. Boyfriends, husbands didn't know that they were sex workers. The way male sex drive works, they have that urge. Men would try to impress me in bed, and I'm thinking, really? You think you're gonna impress me in bed? And they always, without exception, it's always, there's multiple orgasms. And I'm like, oh, okay, really? You think so?
For years, she worked inside the world of high-end escorting. She saw how men, CEOs, athletes, husbands, fathers, how they all approached intimacy, desire, relationships, and she saw what worked. She also saw what didn't work. So we are going to be here today to learn something, quite a few things actually, from Mary Knight. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Oh, thanks, Monica. I'm really, really thrilled to be here. This is going to be fun.
Let's get started from the beginning. How did you even get into the escort business?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a little of an unusual path for me because I started when I was 33. And I know most women start a lot younger than that. And I was a single mom, 3 kids, all under the age of 12. I had just gotten away from my second husband under not great circumstances. So I was working 2 jobs, and one of them was at night as a waitress in a strip club. And the first time I ever walked in, like I said, I was 33, never been in a strip club. And I won't go through all the details, but one thing led to another. And the opportunity for me to work for an escort service presented itself. So I took it. Now, the transition is not quite that, oh yeah, one day I go from single mom to super hooker. It wasn't like that. I just got used to the activities going on and the strip club, things that normally were done in private were being done right in front of me and for money. And it's amazing how quickly you get used to that. And then I started working for this lower end, middle class, I called her a middle class madam escort service. I learned the ropes, figured things out, and thought I could work for someone better. And so I did. And then that man that I worked for, this was all in Houston, Texas. And this was in 1998. So this was before the internet was the thing it was now. And men would look up escort services in a phone book. And then they would talk to the madam or the booker, and she would give them a description. And then you would show up at their door, and that was how it worked back then. And now, it's all websites. And so the higher end escort service that I went to work for, that man taught me how to answer the phones. And he taught me because I was one of the few women that wanted to work at night. All the stuff was done during the day with his business, which I always thought was so weird. I was like, how is this possible to do in the day? But a lot of women, their partners, boyfriends, husbands didn't know that they were sex workers. And so they would just say, oh, I've got this job, and they would just be working regular business hours, 8 to 5.
I'm just a little bit thrown off by that
Whoa.
statement right there, where you're like, how can your husband not know his wife is in the industry? That's really odd.
Yeah, that was a thing. And I was actually one of those women. Well, I met a man before I was considered full service, which means I was doing lingerie modeling, maybe servicing them with my hands. I don't know how explicit I can be on here.
Okay.
And so when I started dating this guy, and then I didn't want to tell him that I had progressed into full service sex work. Full service means that I was actually having sexual intercourse with men, like in a traditional way that you would think of sex. And so I didn't want to tell him, and I also didn't want to quit. And so I was just one of those women that lied and limped along and just hated myself, not for what I was doing, but for the lying. But that was how I got into it. And then I was in and out of it. And then I started my own escort service. And then I actually had a brothel in Houston.
You owned a brothel?
I was a madam.
Was that legal? Because I'm in Vegas, so this stuff is not something new to me. We have a brothel 45 minutes drive from my house, but was that legal at that time?
No, and it's still not. But that's it. No, it was highly illegal. It was very underground. And and I eventually had to quit because I was encouraged by law enforcement.
Oh,
to
that was so nice of them.
Yes, it was. Well, a lot of cops are clients of escorts.
I don't want to hear that. because my husband is a police officer. So that's really not what I wanted to hear in this moment.
Well, okay, so
I
a
don't
lot
have
of
to worry
lawyers.
about him, but
No, 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 you don't have to worry. But so are a lot of lawyers, right? A lot of lawyers are a lot because they're just men.
men are men. I
It's just,
know.
but yeah, but that is the story of how I got started. And then I retired 14 years ago.
Okay.
And
What
I
was
have
your
been,
total time
my
in
total
the
time was
space?
1990, let's say 1998 to 10. Oh my gosh, I
I'm
should know.
like, I know we're like, please don't make us math.
I don't, well, because my goal was once my youngest, who
Over a
is
decade.
now
Okay.
31, once he got into college, I would quit.
Yeah, I'm curious though, because a lot of people do have this perception where women are just kind of forced into it. Was that something you enjoyed during that time?
Yes and no. I was not forced into it. It was all of my own volition. I called an ad in a phone book and I went on a job interview.
Okay.
And that's how it started. And I was paid really well. Like back then, 1998, I was paid $200 for 40 minutes, which
Oh,
isn't, is
that's good money.
right,
Yeah.
right. And then, of course, then, you just get more and more and more and more and more. Yeah, I mean, you can enjoy it because even if you don't necessarily enjoy the people that you're hanging out with and having sex with people that you otherwise would not be having sex with if you weren't being paid, you can still be focused on the money, focused on the freedom, focused on how you are giving pleasure to somebody else. But no, having sex with a bunch of random strangers for money, no, no woman likes that. I mean, you talk yourself into it.
You and I share very similar audiences in that we usually deal with men who are having problems in their marriage. They're having low libido wives. And you have a very interesting and unique point of view in which to come from. I went into coaching because I did this radical transformation as a wife, and I noticed how awful people operate within their marriages are. What was your inspiration for taking that information and moving it into coaching?
Well, originally for me, because I retired, what was like 14, 15 years ago, was I had written a book called How to Keep Your Man Out of My Bed. And it became a bestseller on Amazon, and it was for women because I was teaching women this is why men cheat, and this is how you can prevent it from happening to you in an empowered way. Because why men see escorts and why men were cheating is not what most people think. It isn't about sexual variety. It isn't about, ooh, I'm going to have sex with a hot, willing woman who's not my wife. It's not because men aren't attracted to middle-aged women. It's none of that. It's because they weren't being received at home, but emotionally, mentally. They felt like they were just there to pay for stuff, right? And those are the very same men that I'm coaching now. And so but I was teaching women like, hey, these are the things that really matter. Men have feelings too. Men are people too. And women were blown away like, oh my gosh. And it was well received. I was surprised. I thought, man, women aren't going to want to hear this from me. They're going to, their husbands were my clients. But it was well received. I was coaching women. I was kind of going in and out of that. Because I wrote a book, I would do a podcast, I would do speaking. Then I got married. I got married 10 years ago. And I was a little more interested in hanging out with my husband than, doing all this coaching. And so I've kind of come in and out of it. Then everybody's like, oh, you have to have a YouTube channel. So I started my YouTube channel June 30th of 2024 was the very first time I published a video. And it was men who responded. Who
That's really
responded.
interesting because I started June. I think I dropped my first video at the beginning of June of 2024 as well.
Oh, wow. And it was an audio. It wasn't even a video. It was an
Oh,
audio
wow.
because I had a podcast. So my first several videos were actually audios that I posted. So, and it was men, and men were angry because the one of the first ones that I got 1,000 views, I remember because I was so thrilled. I only had like 79 subscribers and I gotten 1,000 views and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And they were mad because it was why you don't want to fuck nice guys. But I was telling women, hey, this is what's going on. It's not because they're nice and kind. It's not because they're good guys. It's because they're people pleasers. They're doormats. They are not in their masculine energy. And that's how I transitioned coaching men. I never thought I would coach men. I thought I'm a married woman. I'm not going to talk to men about their sex lives. And I talked to my husband. I was like, hey, honey, what do you think? He was like, huh, that's interesting. He said, yeah, I think it's amazing. You have something to offer, and I'm 100% supportive. He said, I feel bad for those guys. So yes, coach
Yeah.
away. The majority, like 75, maybe 80% of the people I coach are men, and they are mostly married in low sex, no sex marriages, and probably about half of them are actively seeing sex workers.
Oh, wow.
Hmm. And they have
Okay.
they,
Yeah.
and then about half of them have cultivated this real, they think is a real relationship and have a real bond with this woman who is looking at it as a transaction. So I help them get out of that, unwind that bond.
There is this kind of perception about men who seek the services of an escort or a prostitute that these guys are just dogs, they're men of
Yeah.
poor character, and that is not what you found at all.
No.
And there's a lot to be learned there. So, why are women so ignorant to the sexual needs of men?
I think that they don't know. I
Okay.
think that I think because of the ignorance about women's body, women's sexuality, that men have about women and that women have about men, and our culture is obsessed with male sex drive. Like we have been taught that male sex drive is just sex drive, and it's not. And I think that's why there's so much confusion, and we get a lot of messaging that is very negative about men, that like you're saying that men are dogs and oh sex is selfish and like as if women don't have a sex drive, as if women don't want to have sex. It's like, and it's all this puritanical stuff and all this, and I'm a woman of faith, so I'm not just talking shit on religion, but it's, come on everybody, it's that women don't take the time to get to know their bodies because we're not encouraged to do that either. Men, it's expected that they're going to masturbate and touch the penis and know it and know what touches and pressures and all feel really good on them, but as women it would be like, what are you doing? Oh, that's naughty. But men, it's just expected, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
part of it too. So it's us, right? It's our own biases that we have and just lack of available education. There's more now, but what I find is a lot of it is, I'm not sure where you stand on this, but like that real, like that sex positive and women are men and we should be hooking up with everybody under the sun and having all these one night stands. It's like, no.
One of my goals is to start a sexual revolution within marriage. Yeah, I'm not about just sleeping with
We
somebody
love.
for the sake of sleeping with somebody. I don't
Yes.
think that's healthy on either end, men or
Mhm.
women. On this idea of touching your own body, and women who have a problem when a man does so, especially when a man comes to his wife, tries to initiate, she says no, and being these men of faith, I have a lot of men of faith who
Me
don't
too.
feel it's okay to touch their own body, or the women have a problem, or even go so far as to say, well, he's cheating on me if he does that. What do you tell these guys?
Well, I do get actually so many men that are call themselves, they're Christians, right? And
Right.
so here they are frequenting a prostitute. And it's not about the sex. It's not about the release. It's about the connection with a woman. They are not being met at home. They're not being received by their wives. And a lot of what I have found is it's because in the relationship, someone has to be the masculine energy, somebody has to be the feminine energy. And the way that men are taught in this new iteration of men, like I'm 60. So even men of my generation, right, were taught this to a certain extent, that you have to be nice, you have to be respectful. It's all about the woman. And I'm not disagreeing with that on principle, but what they're doing is they're deferring to the women. They aren't being honest about, hey, I have this strong desire for you. I'm crazy about you. It is killing me, crushing me that you don't want to connect with me like that. Right? They don't feel like they have the right to say that because they're taught that their desire is inconvenient. And what I'm encouraging men to do is to take on the masculine leadership role and to then you lead your wife back to sex. And that's not being bossy or domineering. It's leading yourself and it's being open and honest and having some hard conversations. And I'm not talking about a long drawn out conversation. It's simply stating in a couple of sentences how you actually feel and what you actually want and sharing that with her. Creating a vision for your marriage and sharing that with your wife. But a lot of men don't know. They don't even know anymore what they want. Deferring to their wives and waiting for her to initiate or waiting for it, the moment to be just right for sex, is putting her in the leadership role. That does not turn a woman on.
How do we handle situations where the guy will do the work to say and go and have these conversations, and the wife just says, I'm not interested in that anymore? Because that's where I think the majority of a lot of the guys that watch our content, I think that's where they're at. My point is, you're making the assumption that these women actually care, and I'm just finding that most of them don't.
You can't make somebody care, right? You can only lead yourself, right? You can only get real about what you want and share that, and actually create a vision for yourself and for your marriage. And then you can share that with the person you're married to. If she's not receptive, then you don't have a marriage. I mean, I know that's a difficult thing, and I don't recommend that people get divorced. I don't. I've been divorced, but I know sometimes it's like, if you can't be honest and be received, I'm using the word received a lot, but if you can't,
well, we're not just talking sexual, just like,
yeah, well, yeah,
well,
yeah, as a man,
husband, yeah,
because that's what we do, right? Feminine receives, men gives. If you don't have that, then you don't have a marriage. And I know for a lot of men, they don't want to get a divorce. They don't want another man raising their children. They don't want to split the assets. Like, they don't want the consequences of the divorce. And that's why some men start seeing sex workers. And I never recommend that people see sex workers. Never. People email me all the time. Oh, can you help me? Like, no, I cannot. People in a good place in their lives, men who are happy and have self-esteem and a sense of dignity and integrity, would never participate in something like that. They just wouldn't. And I know that for a fact. I lived it.
You did touch upon the point of divorce, and it is very risky, especially with today's laws, financial consequences of divorce, not being around to be able to raise your kid, paying all this child support. Are you of the mindset that the traditional marriage setup today should just be avoided? For men, do you believe it to be too risky?
I mean, I know why people would think that or say that, but I think that men who are mature, and I don't just mean chronologically, and strong and in their masculine energy, would never let something like that stop them from doing something that they want or having something that they want. I think that the laws do need to be changed, and I don't think that men should let lame laws keep them from living their purpose and doing the things they want. They've swung the other way, because I remember my mom would have friends whose husband, I live in Texas and lived in Texas then too, whose husbands weren't paying child support, deadbeat dads. And you couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
Like, without it being a big legal drama. And now it's the opposite. It's like the pendulum just keeps swinging. It's like, for
It's
crying
went
out
a
loud,
little too far. So
as human beings, we need to just learn about balance.
yeah.
We're all like, ah. But yeah, I don't think that masculine energy men and strong men would ever let something like that keep them from, as I said, fulfilling their purpose, having what they want. If they want to get married. Not all men want to get married. Not all men want to have kids. And masculine energy wants to be free. I mean, some men really, really want to have children, but some men don't, and they just do it because they think it's their civic duty, or because the woman they're with wants to have kids. So it's, knowing yourself and making decisions based on that.
Marriage is not for everybody. I'm here for the people who value marriage and want to seek out how to best make that happen. What do we do as women? What do you think is like the number one thing that we do that just create awful marriages?
Oh boy. Well,
I know it's hard to nail one.
not communicate. Yeah, name. I'm having a hard time naming one. I've got like as a wife, I'm sitting here thinking, oh boy, thanks for calling me on the carpet, Monica. No. Yeah, it's very easy for me to get busy. I have this business. I have things I love to do around the house. I have things, all these things. I have lists of like, oh, I'm going to do this kind of landscaping, I'm gonna do this, being involved in projects and being, not making time for my husband, not treating him like I do all the other stuff. Like, I put hair, nails, that kind of stuff's going to the gym. That's all in my calendar. That's scheduled out, talking to you, having coaching calls, making videos, all of that. But it's making time. And when he comes into a room, I make it a conscious choice to stop what I'm doing, look at him when he's talking to me, He's never asked me to do that, but that's what you do when you respect somebody.
Now, a man could do everything right,
Yeah.
or what he believes to be right, and still have no success in inspiring a woman to want to have sex with him. Is this because we as women just don't really think about ourselves as sexual beings? I'm starting to really kind of come to this idea, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, where and especially we're not crapping on religion, right? But there is a lot of purity culture that I think has really messed up women's minds to believe sex to be dirty, that we are not sexual beings. Whereas guys, they just embrace it as something that is part of themselves, not, and whereas women kind of put it on a shelf and pull it down as they need to, and then put it back up until the next session. Is this something you're thinking we really need to work on as women, is to really start understanding ourselves as sexual beings?
I think that because of the way that female sex drive works, absolutely. Because when we're hustle bustle around all day, running here, running there, planning this, strategizing that, fixing meals, doing kid stuff, like everything that we're doing is not necessarily relaxing. And part of female sex drive, like before we can even feel physically aroused, we have to be in a state of relaxation. Like we have to feel, and most people's home lives don't allow for that for whatever reason, right? Both people need to work, got little kids, or just because you haven't stopped and thought about, well, wow, I need to relax. I need to relax so that I can be available to my husband in that way, right? Because some women feel like, oh, I just don't feel it. It's like, well, because you're in your head too.
Yeah.
You're not. You gotta like give yourself room to feel that, and do feminine energy stuff too, things that are relaxing to you, which could be different for a lot of people. But also, the way male sex drive works is they have that urge, and it's like, and I remember when I was in my 40s, I've always been a little bit of a late bloomer with stuff. They say dirty 30s. When I was in my 40s,
The
that's
30s
how
were the best.
40s were mine. And
Oh, really?
I was like, is this what a teenage boy feels like? Because this
Mm-hmm.
is distracting. How do they get anything done? And I'm a grown ass woman with lots of sexual opportunity. Actually, I was escorting at that point. And I was like, this is maddening. Like it was distracting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I think that that's part of it too. Is just the difference in the drives, and also because what does it take to make a woman feel open or to allow the openness? It's not leaving a woman alone. It's and leaving it up to her and waiting for her to initiate. That's not how that works. It's creating an invitational space for a woman.
Speaking about the initiation, and I hear this a lot, of I would like her to initiate more.
Mhm.
And they kind of get down on themselves that
Yeah.
they take this as that women just aren't as into them.
That's not it, it's not personal.
It's not, and it's nice if she would, but if you're waiting for her to initiate, you're setting yourself up for a lot of missed opportunities.
For sure. Absolutely. I agree with that. And even with me, with what I have done for a living, what I do now, and it's constantly on my mind. I know about it. My husband still is the one who initiates sex 75% of the time. Just
Right.
because it's
We're
just,
just different, guys. Okay, we're just different.
we're just
You don't have
different.
a whole lot of testosterone going on in our bodies. Sorry,
Right?
we're not made
Right?
that way.
And then they make it a thing. They make it, oh, she doesn't want me anymore. She always used to initiate. I was like, really? She always used to initiate? When was the last time that and you felt like it was like a even, well, 1982. I'm like, okay, come on. That, it was, oh, well, before the kids, when we were dating. It's like, well, okay. That's not the time anymore.
You kind of got to ignore that honeymoon, first couple year energy. That's like the Disney movies, okay? It's not going to stick around.
Well, also, it's like I think something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is men like, oh, I just want that back. You're not going to have anything back. It's all about building something new from right now because
Hmm.
you're not the same people. You don't have the same body. You don't have the same drive as you did, 15, 10 years ago. You
Right.
don't. You don't. Everyone changes. And so it's building from what's going on right now and not lamenting the past.
Can we talk about orgasms?
Sure.
Because I hear this. This is funny. This is why I think men really, really do need the female perspective. And I get very frustrated when they're like, "Well, you don't ask a fish how to catch a fish." I'm like, you guys are missing a lot of information if you don't get
Oh,
this female perspective. So when
crying
men
out.
come in and say, "Well, if you just gave her more orgasms, if your technique was better, she would want you more," and I'm like, yeah, you have to at least even get her interested in
Yeah.
getting to the bedroom before we can even talk about your technique. And if it was your technique, she probably wouldn't have married you. What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts are that back when I was a sex worker, men would try to impress me in bed. And I'm thinking, really? You think you're going to impress me in bed? And here's the thing with technique, and all that. And here's what impressed me then and what impresses me with my husband now. It's not what he was doing, although that's part of it. It's how I felt when I was with him. Some men just felt really good to be around. And that's what made sex better. So yeah, you have to be someone nice to be around, someone who feels good to be around. And then you can do the orgasms and the technique. I've heard that too. I was being interviewed by a male dating coach and I was like, yeah, but you got to get her in the bedroom first because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's because it's easy to focus on something like that the coach isn't actually going to be interacting with them on too. And it's just something fun that men think, oh, I'm going to focus on that. And then, but it's like, but yeah, what about your personality? What about brushing your teeth? And, it's the basics. That's the thing. Men think it needs to be all this razzle dazzle. No, it doesn't. It really
Exactly.
doesn't. It's,
Yes.
are
Yes.
you
Well,
fun to
men
be
do measure like if I was good, if I was able to give her an orgasm, I'm like, you don't even know. She could have been
around?
thinking about somebody else, and she
Right.
like her mind got herself off. That you're giving yourself credit, or if she didn't have an orgasm, that maybe she didn't enjoy the process. I'm like, no, that's there. Men are so orgasm centric, and I'm like, you guys, you got to stop thinking about this is the goal of the experience. That's not the goal of the experience. The experience is the goal, making that experience as good as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not true.
Right.
It's silly. It's silly. And also, how do you even know that she's coming?
And she's a really good actress.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Maybe.
Every week in coaching, I hear men talking about how the reason they know that this escort is in love with them and why it's real is because of the way that they have sex together and that there's no way her body could respond like that if she didn't feel something for me. And they always, without exception, it's always there's multiple orgasms. And I'm like, oh, okay, really? You think so? You've never had that in your life with any other woman, but this one, okay, okay. So that's how
Okay.
it's real. It's like no, some women are incredible actresses, and you know, and that's really what the men want is that experience of feeling good, you know.
Right.
Well,
Right.
because that's a turn on for men, right? That's their number one turn on is being able to give a woman pleasure.
What do you think about duty sex? Should a woman show up? Should she, if she's just not into it, should she just forego it? Like what? What's your thoughts?
That's a tough one because it's tough and it's not. Okay, there's a reason why she doesn't want to have sex because she's not turned on by you in that moment, right? Doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Doesn't mean that she's not ever turned on by you. But whatever's going on in that moment, she's not turned on. A lot of this is men reflecting like, okay, so what could I be doing that's not turning her on? Because when a woman is annoyed with a man, it's usually because what he's doing is a turn off. I mean, that's what I have come to find. So if your wife is constantly annoyed with you, it's because whatever you're doing is sexually unattractive to her. Does that make sense to you? Because because it's not the thing itself, like not taking out the trash, that's so infuriating. It's all these different things behind it. She can't rely on you. She can't count on you. She doesn't trust you.
I always say
Not
the trash is never about the trash.
it is fun if a woman could kind of reframe the way she's thinking about it and go, you know what? And she could even say, you know, let's do a quickie. I want to enjoy the energy of that quickie because sometimes she just maybe doesn't feel like being seduced. She doesn't want to make love. She doesn't want that kind of closeness, but she won't mind, you know, giving it up for a few minutes. But I think of sex in a fun way. Hey,
Yes.
let's just do. He's like, okay.
I call that the mac and cheese sex. Yeah, because speaking about like earlier where I talk about modes, during the day I have a lot of energy and I'm in my mode, and if he comes by a couple times hovering like a
Yes,
vulture, I
you can
know
always
I'm just
tell.
like, okay, I'm reading the room here.
You can always
Let's go take care of this. Let's not make it more than it is. Let's just go get this done. Like it's very like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Let me get back to my day. I view that as a duty sex. I'm fine with that. Some men would say, oh well, if she's not all into it at this time, I just don't want it. And I was like, well, you have to
well,
understand as well. She might not be into it or want it in that moment, but as soon as her body, you guys start, there's a high chance she's gonna catch up in her
right. Once
desire.
she start doing it, she can get into it,
She
right?
can
It's
get
just that,
into it. So I'm
mhm.
always at the mindset from a woman's point of view, you should show up for duty sex, not in a bad attitude, because attitude is the key here. Show up, let's not make it more than it is. Your body might catch up. It might not. But either way, it's like what, 10 minutes out of your life. Come on, this isn't hard. For her, it's not an attraction issue. She's just not interested in that moment. Don't
In the
make it more than
moment,
it is.
yeah.
Both of you
I
just
mean,
show up and see what happens.
I always used to give that advice when I was coaching women. I was like, "Hey, give it up, ladies." That was what I was. That was my thing. Like, yeah, what's so hard about this? Like, what's the big deal? But if there's other stuff going on in the relationship, that's when it becomes a big deal, and that's when men get butthurt. It's not about the sex. It's about there's something else going on, and they're not meeting in the middle to talk about it if it needs to be talked about. And sometimes just having sex or just giving him a blowjob for crying out loud. What's so hard about that? I love that. That is the easiest thing, and it's so
I just
empowering.
had a, yeah, I'm like, give
It's
your
so
guy a blowjob once in a while. This is not hard. Why is this difficult?
Why is it so well, and I think it's the attitude though, right? It's just the attitude about it like, "Oh, I'm being used." It's like, "No, you're not." Who's in control in that situation?
There's a lot of
You know,
power there. You got women
there's
have
a
to
lot of
understand their
power.
power.
That's what I would say. Use your powers for good.
Use your powers for good here.
Not for punishing. And also when you withhold sex from a man, you're punishing yourself. You're depriving yourself of an orgasm and closeness and affection and attention and all that stuff too. Because contrary to popular belief that I see everywhere is that, oh, well, women over 50 don't have a sex drive. Once women hit menopause, they no longer have a sex drive. It's only partially true because again, I'm 60 and I have a sex drive. And I am on HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I have been since I was 46. So I do that, but I'm committed to doing that. I don't know where I would be if I didn't do that, because it does make a difference just because of, well, vaginal atrophy. I talk to men all the time about how sex does not feel the same. Once a woman goes through menopause, your body changes and you feel like your body's betrayed you.
My story is very similar. I went on hormone replacement therapy at 45. So, and that is actually where I first experienced like the level of testosterone. Not, I
Yeah.
mean, I still was a sliver of what men experience. I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, this is what men live with. So
Yeah.
it really was the turning point for me, my marriage, and what actually inspired me through this whole process as well. Menopause is no joke. It's going to affect your marriage,
Yes.
and it's going to make your woman just feel better in her body. Not, and we think about this as like, oh, it's just affecting her libido. No, it's affecting a lot more than that. It's affecting everything. The libido is the one thing that's going to probably hit you the hardest, and
Yeah.
you can continue a woman's desire for you because libido is multi-pronged. It's biological, which is the hormones. It's psychological. So if there's problems in the home, even if her hormones are right, she's not
Yeah.
gonna want to sleep with you. And it's also societal and the expectations that we get from society about this. So to only address one aspect of that approach to libido is a bit ignorant. I do get on the other side where the men will say, "Oh well, she just doesn't have genuine burning desire." That's easy for you to say, having been a man who's never been without hormones. You can't figure out if this is kind of like a hormone problem or a husband problem until you go through the process of getting your hormones right. So I always advise men, start with the hormones. If things are dry down there, she can't receive you. Like, even if she wants to mentally, she physically, her tissues are not the same. Just get those online, if at all possible. Are you on testosterone or or
I'm on they're all creams, testosterone, progesterone,
Okay.
testosterone, DHEA, mix, and progesterone and estrogen.
Yeah, good, good.
On
Because sometimes when you tell women, HRT, it's missing the testosterone, which is
Yeah.
that is going to be the essential libido.
And also, and then estrogen is what keeps your vaginal walls plump.
Yes.
And then progesterone is what balances out, the estrogen and the testosterone, because you can't just take estrogen or you would be a fucking crazy person.
Yep.
Because it needs an answer, right? They need to be balanced out, just like in life and relationships. And that's what I say is lack of sex, low sex is a symptom of a problem, because you can go through death, illness, loss of job, losing your home, all kinds of things, and still feel close and connected with one another. Maybe you're not getting down, but at least you feel very close, very connected and affectionate with one another. But if you feel your wife distancing herself from you, it isn't just hormones, right? Like what you're saying, it's all of it. It's, if you have a good relationship, then she's going to want to talk to you about this stuff. And she's going to listen to you when you say, hey, what's going on? Oh, well, because sometimes that's what I need from my husband. He will have to ask me before I will say, hey, so, this is bothering me or whatever, because he's the one that comes to me, which I feel very fortunate that he does. But he's the one that's taught me that it's safe to open up. Right? And men sometimes get mad in my comments, and I'm like, but you know what? Because I say, well, you're the leader of the relationship. Lead her back to sex. And of course, that's an easy thing to say. There's, it's nuanced there. But they're like, oh, it's always, remember, gentlemen, if she cheats, it's your fault. If she won't have sex with you, it's your fault. And I'm like, well, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Okay? You're the leader. You're the masculine energy. Don't you want it to be your fault so that you can actually do something about it? Because otherwise, you can't do shit. So, but I'm not saying that you'll be able to solve all the problems, but at least it gives you a reframe, a way to look at it in an empowered way, rather than feeling like you're a victim of menopause or a victim of women or a victim of the system.
That's true. Well, Mary, I've been really happy to have you on my show today. I thank you for your wisdom and for the help that you're offering to men out there. Keep doing what you're doing. But where can people find you if they want to connect and reach out to you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a YouTube channel, Sex, Love, and Soul. And then my website is sexloveandsoul.com. And yeah, Monica, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. I think we definitely need to talk, because I have some questions for you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Mary, take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye. Are you a married man who is stuck in a sexless marriage? Well, if so, you certainly are not alone. Listen, seducing a woman once is hard enough, but maintaining that desire for years, if not decades, is a whole different game. It's a game of knowledge and skill, and nobody teaches men how to do this. Not your parents, not society, and certainly not the woman that you're married to. I'm Monica Almaguer. I've been teaching thousands of men the specific tips, tools, and techniques to create a hot, steamy marriage on my podcast, Modern Marriage with Monica. But now I've taken all that information, those thousands of hours, and really have just distilled everything that you need to move the needle in your relationship with your wife into one simple course. And before you ask, no, your wife doesn't need to know or be on board. It requires nothing from her. In my course, How to Create and Maintain Long-Term Sexual Attraction, I give you all the information, all the tools, not just for right now, but for years. Let me just go over a couple of the things that you're gonna learn in my course. The first thing is the 6 pillars of long-term attraction. We're gonna go over the proper expectations. We're gonna go over how women really work, polarity, the proper masculine and feminine dynamic. I've put together everything you need. everything you need to create this environment in which your marriage and your sex life is not only just going to survive, but thrive. If this is something that you would like more information on, go ahead and hit that button below.